It's showtime.
Well, it's only taken 36 years, but we're finally getting a sequel to Beetlejuice, with Tim Burton and Michael Keaton returning for Beetlejuice. With the sequel bound to introduce a new generation to the Tim Burton classic, now's the perfect time to look back at the original and figure out why it stands the test of time. So, here are 10 reasons why Beetlejuice is still the ghost with the most. Number 10. It's a timeless tale. There's a reason why Beetlejuice still resonates all these decades following its initial release. The fact is, from the time we mere mortals realize that our time on Earth is limited, we become preoccupied with the afterlife. Beetlejuice tackles this theme with unusual aplomb, imagining the afterlife as just another stop in our soul's journey to its final resting place, with our heroes, Alec Baldwin's Adam and Gina Davis's Barbara, more or less stuck in limbo for 115 years, as the afterlife, which is hampered by bureaucracy, figures out what to do with them, courtesy of a chain-smoking caseworker played by former Hollywood Golden Age star Sylvia Sidney. Number 9 is all the kooky cameos. While Beetlejuice reportedly doubles down on the amount of cameos we see in the afterlife, the original film has some pretty wacky ones modern audiences may not fully appreciate. During the famous dinner party sequence, the guests include Dick Cavett, a famously urbane talk show host of the 60s and 70s, as well as modern artist Adele Lutz, who designed all the clothes the Talking Heads performed in during their 80s heyday. And the financial whiz Jeffrey Jones's Charles Dietz is trying to court at the end is played by Robert Goulet, one of the most famous crooners of his era, who had a habit of spoofing himself in comedies such as this, Scrooged, The Naked Gun, 2.5, and even on The Simpsons. Younger audiences may also know him from a series of savage impersonations Will Ferrell did of him on Saturday Night Live while he was a cast member. Number 8 is the PG rating. Yes, believe it or not, Beetlejuice is only rated PG, not PG-13. You see, back in the 80s, the PG rating, for lack of a better term, had balls. Nowadays, the movie would likely get a PG-13, but it might even struggle a bit with that, and the MPA would probably give it a hard time due to the gore effects, scatological humor, and the fact that Beetlejuice himself even drops an F-bomb, which used to be allowed in PG movies. Number 7 is all the practical effects. One of the most welcome elements in Beetlejuice is that Tim Burton is eschewing CGI in favor of more timeless practical effects like the ones he used in the original. This included amazing makeup, prosthetics, animation, and perhaps most iconic of all, stop motion. Burton says he wanted the FX to look purposefully cheap, like what you'd see in the movies he grew up with, but I'm not sure he ever anticipated how often people would try to rip off his style in the years to come. And key to his style is the number 6 reason why Beetlejuice is still the ghost with the most, Bo Welch's production design. Another stunning element of the film's success is the incredible work that's being done by Welch here, who would later reteam with Burton on Edward Scissorhands and Batman Returns, as well as establish a long-running working relationship with Barry Sonnenfeld. This was an important film for Welch, not only because it launched his career, but also because it was where he met his future wife, Catherine O'Hara. Number 5. Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte, the great actor, civil rights activist, and calypso singer, found his career as a recording artist revitalized when Burton iconically used several of his songs on the soundtrack to score some of the movie's most impressive scenes. Deo, the Banana Boat song, and Jump in the Line, Shake Sonora became classics to a whole new generation, with the movie's producer, David Geffen, who of course was a major music executive at the time, apparently key to licensing the songs. Number 4, Danny Elfman. Of course, it wasn't only Belafonte's music that helped define Beetlejuice, it also marked an early score by Danny Elfman, who was then best known for being in the band Oingo Boingo. He had already scored Pee-wee's Big Adventure for Burton, but this one put him on another level, and by the time he scored Tim Burton's Batman in 1989, he was a lot more famous as a composer than he ever was as a rock star. Number 3 is the supporting cast. Beetlejuice has to be one of the best cast movies in history. Outside of the titular character, it offers early roles to Alec Baldwin, who was top billed, and Gina Davis. While Davis had done The Fly, her career would actually skyrocket just a few months after Beetlejuice came out when she won an Oscar for The Accidental Tourist. There's also Catherine O'Hara and Jeffrey Jones as the iconic proto-hipster couple, the Dietzes, with O'Hara soon to reprise her role in the sequel. And psst, we actually interviewed her here on JoBlo. But why isn't Jeffrey Jones back? Well, that one's kind of a long, sad story, but hey, he's still great in the movie, isn't he? Plus, there's the late Glenn Shaddix as Otho, and, most iconic of all, a very young Winona Ryder as perhaps the silver screen's first goth teen, Lydia.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the Store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
Number 2, Tim Burton. Now, it would be a mistake to say that Beetlejuice made Tim Burton's career, as he was already a pretty big rising star at the time this was made thanks to Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Yet this was the movie that firmly established the big screen Burton style, and it remains one of his most defining films. Also, were this not a major hit, there would be no Batman, and perhaps no tentpole superhero movies, if you listen to what Michael Keaton said recently. And number 1, of course, is Michael Keaton himself. While most think of Beetlejuice as a Michael Keaton film, he actually only has about 17 minutes of screen time in the movie, and accordingly is billed with an "and" credit. Yet it helped propel him to the top of the A-list, although truth be told, he was already a pretty big star at this point thanks to a series of comedies which included Mr. Mom, Gung Ho, and Night Shift. Still, this was the one that made him an icon, and again paved the way for him to play Batman. Notably, Keaton's always said this was his favorite role and the favorite movie of his of all the ones he's been in. So of our 10 reasons why Beetlejuice is still the ghost with the most, which one do you think is the key to the film's timelessness? Let us know in the comments. Curious to hear what you think.
Now what do you think? You think I'm qualified?